Right, we come to Prime Minister's questions. Lewis Cocking.
Question number 1, please, Mr. Speaker.
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, my deepest condolences, and I'm sure those of the whole House, are with the families and friends of Jenny, Martin and David, tragically killed in the fire in Bicester last week. May I also welcome to the gallery Cheryl Corbell, the mother of Olivia. I'm always humbled by those with the courage to respond to appalling heartbreak by campaigning for change. And I know the whole House will pay tribute to her extraordinary courage and extraordinary resolve. Mr. Speaker, because of the action taken by this government, the UK is now the fastest growing economy in the G7. Interest rates have been cut 4 times, and we've secured our 3rd trade deal in 3 weeks. India, the US and the EU. Deals in the national interest that improve the lives of working people and businesses across the United Kingdom. Mr. Speaker, this morning I had meetings with ministerial colleagues and others. In addition to my duties in this House, I shall have further such meetings later today.
Lewis Cocking.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This Labour government has been in power now for almost 12 months. So when will the Prime Minister stop defying the will of the British people, stop dancing around the subject and stop all illegal immigration into the United Kingdom, which has been rising under his watch?
It was the last government that lost control of immigration. Record numbers on net migration, lost control of the borders. We're bringing forward legislation to give law enforcement the greatest possible powers. What are they doing? They're voting against it.
Sarah Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Whilst the economy is showing signs of improving, many pensioners are still impacted by the cost of living crisis. People in Luton who have worked hard all their lives, seeing their precious savings slip away. So can the Prime Minister tell us what measures he will take to help struggling pensioners in towns like mine?
Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we all know the economy was left in an absolute mess by the Tories. We had to stabilise the economy with tough decisions, but the right decisions. Because of those decisions, the economy is beginning to improve. Those growth figures last year, the highest growth in the G7, interest rate cuts, 4 in a row, 3 trade deals. But I recognise that people are still feeling the pressure of the cost of living crisis, including pensioners. And as the economy improves, we want to make sure people feel those improvements in their days as their lives go forward. And that is why we want to ensure that as we go forward, more pensioners are eligible for winter fuel payments. As you would expect, Mr. Speaker, we will only make decisions we can afford. That is why we will look at that as part of a fiscal event.
Leader of the Opposition, Kemi Badenoch.
Mr. Speaker, it's extraordinary listening to that last answer from the Prime Minister. Inflation was 2% when Conservatives left office. 2%. It's now nearly double that. When will he recognise that it's Labour's budget driving up inflation?
I think what she forgot to say was over 11% on their watch, and she didn't say a watch. I am confident those numbers will come down, Mr. Speaker. The Bank of England is confident those numbers will come down. That's why we've seen 4 interest rates in a row. But I notice she can't resist grabbing any opportunity to talk the country down. She doesn't mention the growth figures, the interest rate figures, record investment, wages up more than prices, 200,000 jobs created, 4 trade deals. And the reason, Mr. Speaker, they haven't learned, they haven't changed, and as George Osborne said, she doesn't have a credible economic plan.
Mr. Speaker, this is laughable from the Prime Minister. He knows that inflation was brought down by us to 2%, bang on target. We were reacting to a war in Ukraine that brought inflation up all over Europe. While he is doing trade deals with countries like the US and India, their inflation is going down. It's going up here. Why? The ONS says the inflation figures are driven by significant increases in household bills. We warned him repeatedly that this is exactly what would happen, what his policies would do. We called it Awful April. The Prime Minister came into office saying that he would tackle the cost of living crisis. He has failed. He hasn't got a clue, has he?
Mr. Speaker, she talks of their record, the disastrous Liz Truss mini-budget. Inflation through the work. They left a £22 billion black hole. Living standards at an all-time low. Energy prices through the roof. Mortgages through the roof. And, Mr. Speaker, we're taking measures to bring prices down. That EU deal will bring prices down. That's why supermarkets welcomed it. What did she do? She opposes measures to bring prices down.
Kemi Beno.
Mr. Speaker, he needs to stop whining about what the last government did and look at what he is doing. He is the Prime Minister. Look at the numbers this morning. As if inflation figures weren't bad enough, we've also learned that the Deputy Prime Minister is on manoeuvres. He's lost control of the economy. He's lost control of his cabinet. She's sitting there staring at me. She knew exactly what she was doing when she briefed that into the papers. She is demanding, Mr. Speaker, 8 new tax rises, as if we haven't suffered enough. People out there are struggling. Businesses are struggling. People are losing their jobs. We cannot have more tax rises. Will the Prime Minister rule out new tax rises this year?
Mr. Speaker, she's not learned or changed. They lost the election because their appalling record on the NHS, on health, on prisons, you name it. And now she accuses everyone of whining about the impact that had on the country. It had a huge impact on working people across the country, and they're absolutely right to complain about it. She wants to talk about the Deputy Prime Minister. The Deputy Prime Minister, working with the Chancellor, building 1.5 million new homes, reforming our planning system, putting £7 billion into our economy, and bringing forward our employment rights bill, which is the single biggest upgrade to workers' rights in a generation.
That's desperate stuff. The whole House would have heard the Prime Minister refuse to rule out new tax rises. The whole House heard it. He didn't rule it out. That his cabinet is open warfare. The Deputy Prime Minister clearly calling the shots. What is it that we've learned? We're heading for new tax rises. We know inflation is up. It's just more and more bad news from a Prime Minister who has lost control. So we heard his earlier answer, Mr. Speaker. We heard his earlier answer on winter fuel. Let's try and get some more information. I'm going to ask him a simple question. It only requires one word, yes or no. Is he planning to U-turn on winter fuel cuts?
Yes. Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I made clear in my earlier answer that as the economy improves, we want to take measures that will impact on people's lives, and therefore we will look at the threshold, but that will have to be part of a fiscal event. But, Mr. Speaker, they lost control of every element of the economy, of prisons, the borders, the NHS, you name it. And now she's lost control of her party. They are sliding into oblivion. They will have to trade on their past, Mr. Speaker, because that's all they've got.
Speaker, I made it really easy for the Prime Minister. Just a simple question, yes or no. And he could not answer. I wonder how the public feel about a man who can't give a straight answer to a simple question. And you look at all of them behind him, all of them cheering, when this inevitable U-turn on winter fuel comes, and it will, from a desperate Prime Minister, what will he say to the 348 MPs who went over the top and voted for the winter fuel cut last September? Just like the British public, how can any of them ever trust him again?
Mr. Speaker, it's only because of the measures we've taken that the economy is improving. Growth at the highest rate since in the G7. 4 interest rate cuts, 3 trade deals because countries want to trade with this country because of the decisions that we've made. All of those decisions opposed by the party opposite. They've learned absolutely nothing and they're going absolutely nowhere.
Mr. Speaker, this is a Prime Minister who says he's taking measures. The jobs tax is killing jobs. Inflation is up. Business confidence is down. Everyone is worried. He promised to cut bills, but today we see they are rising because of his policies. He promised not to raise taxes on working people, but his jobs tax means people are losing their jobs. Every week we come here with a new company that is saying they are shedding jobs. That's on his watch. He promised to protect pensioners, but his winter fuel cut has driven thousands into hardship. His MPs hate this. He can't see them, but they all look sick just hearing what it is he's going to do. So let's wait until... Oh, yes, they're laughing. They're laughing. They're laughing.
I expect better from whips. And boys on at the back, I've got my eye on you. Kenny Bennett.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Order. Sorry. Which one wants to leave first? If I hear it, there we are. They've got the first volunteer. Are you going to behave? Kenny Bennett.
Mr. Speaker, they are laughing just as they laughed at the budget. Hands up who here wanted winter fuel cuts. Hands up. Not a single one of them. Not a single one of them. The fact of the matter is, this Prime Minister is destroying them. They need to look at what they are doing to the country. The truth is, we all know that it is this Prime Minister, this Labour government, and their policies that are shafting the country, isn't it?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, they look in pretty good form to me, and there's lots of them. Mr. Speaker, she talks about business confidence. Yesterday, I didn't have time to read out the list of all the businesses that have come out in support of our EU deal. Mr. Speaker, I don't have time today. It's a long list. I went immediately to Lidl and spoke to the staff in Lidl. They're delighted with the deal we put forward yesterday. Business like the work we're doing. It's giving them confidence in the EU deal. She's opposed to each and every measure.
Louise Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I recently visited Barrow Hill Primary School in my constituency of North East Derbyshire, a school in receipt of a new free breakfast club. The team there are doing a fantastic job, but challenges still remain. What more can we do as a government to support both them and local parents to give the children of Barrow Hill the start in life that they deserve?
Well, I thank my honourable friend, and we are united by a shared focus on creating better life chances for our children. And I'm delighted to hear her constituents are already benefiting. Thanks to our plan for change, we'll deliver free breakfast clubs in every primary school in England. And I'm determined to support parents to give every child the best start in life. And that's why we're rolling out free childcare, expanding the first 300 school-based nurseries and delivering more family hubs.
Sherrod David, the leader of the Liberal Democrats.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with the Prime Minister's remarks about the terrible fire in Bicester last Thursday? I know from my honourable friend, the member for Bicester and Woodstock, how deeply the close-knit community there has been affected by this tragedy. And firefighters Martin Sadler and Jenny Logan were true heroes, as was Dave Chester. And I hope the full prayers and thoughts of the House are with their loved ones and with the two firefighters still in hospital. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has rightly said that his new trade deals will give a much-needed boost to economic growth and thus to the public finances. So will the Prime Minister make sure that struggling families and pensioners see the benefits of the growth? He teased the House with his first answer to his honourable friend, the member for Luton North. So will he commit now to reversing his cuts to the winter fuel payment in full?
Mr. Speaker, firstly, can I just thank him for his comments about the Bicester tragedy. And it's very important that in a moment like this, the House does come together. And we are taking measures, obviously, to help with the cost of living crisis. And that's why the EU deal yesterday was so important, because the impact it will have on prices, particularly in supermarkets, directly affecting those who are affected by the cost of living crisis. Mr. Speaker, what I said before was this, that the economy is beginning to improve. People are still feeling the pressure. That's why we're taking the measures that we are. That's why we're striking the trade deals that we are striking. As that improves, I do want people to feel the benefit of the measures that we are taking. And that is why I want to ensure that more pensioners are eligible for winter fuel. It is important that, as you'd expect, that we are clear we can afford the decisions we're making, and that's why it will now be looked at a fiscal event.
Sherrod David.
Mr. Speaker, I think I welcome what the Prime Minister has said, but we will look at the details, and I hope he will use some of these new proceeds to help others like carers, because the government's changes to PIP will have big consequences for family carers, like Ginny, who cares for her husband, Tim, who has myotonic dystrophy. Ginny holds her husband's hand to keep him steady as he walks. He falls frequently and chokes on his food. Ginny is the sole earner in the family. She works part-time on top of caring for Tim. But she's calculated that under the government's cuts, her family will lose £12,000 a year. So can the Prime Minister tell Ginny, and many family carers like her, what does he expect them to do?
Mr. Speaker, we have approached this on the basis of the principles that we must support those who need support. On the question of getting people into work, that we should support people into work where they can work, and of course, where they can work, they should. But it is undeniably the case that the current arrangements don't work and need to be reformed. And that's why we're bringing forward reform, necessary reform, to ensure the system works better.
Annalise Mitchell.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday in this place, I read the victim impact statement Cheryl Corbell never got to say to her daughter's killer, Thomas Cashman, because he refused to face her in court. I made up Olivia's Law past second reading, but until it gets royal assent, criminals can still not show up and deny victims justice. So will the Prime Minister commit to making sure Olivia's Law becomes law as fast as possible?
Yeah. Prime Minister.
Can I thank her for reading that victim impact statement? Because I know from talking to Cheryl just how hard it was for her to make that victim impact statement in the first place. It took a huge amount of courage and grief. And she wanted to read that statement to the perpetrator, as she should have been able to do. And I know how visceral the pain is to her of not being able to have done so from the meetings I've had with her. So I do thank my honourable friend for allowing that victim impact statement to be heard by the whole world, by being read out in this chamber. Cowards who commit these heinous crimes should face the consequences of their action and face those that have had huge impact on their lives, and that's why we will force offenders to attend the sentencing hearings with longer sentences, unlimited fines and prison sanctions for those who seek to avoid facing justice. And I again pay tribute to Cheryl, who I will meet later on this afternoon, for having the incredible courage to push for that change, notwithstanding the incredibly painful impact it's had on her and her family.
Jim Allison.
The government assures us that Northern Ireland is still in the United Kingdom's customs union. If so, how is it then that British steel can be sold to the United States tariff-free, but if the same British steel is sold into Northern Ireland, it's subject to EU tariffs? Why on Monday did the Prime Minister not even try to take back control over the trade laws that govern Northern Ireland?
Well, Mr. Speaker, it is important that we reduce tariffs on steel into the US market or other markets, including the EU markets, for obvious reasons. It is also vital that we seek to ensure that we reduce any barriers in trade within the United Kingdom as a whole. Yesterday was a step towards that. There's further work to do, but we do want to get to that place where we can trade without those barriers in the United Kingdom. We'll continue to work on that.
Andrew Pex.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister will know that thriving high streets are essential to local growth. But in cities like mine, people are increasingly concerned by the uncontrolled growth of betting shops and vape stores. Research shows this concern is not isolated. Nearly half of betting shops and gambling stores are in the 20% of places which are struggling the most, like Peterborough. So can I ask the Prime Minister, will he ask his departments to meet with me and campaigners so we can discuss ways that local communities like mine can take back control of our high streets?
My honourable friend is an excellent champion for his constituents, and we are committed to supporting our nation's high streets to adapt and thrive. Planning applications are required for any new betting office, to make sure locals have a say on individual cases, and communities can use the planning system to allow for a change of use of their properties. And I will make sure that he gets the meeting that he's asked for.
Michael.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. On Friday, the EFRA Select Committee published its report on the Government's vision for agriculture. The committee agrees with the Government that land purchase being used to shelter wealth from inheritance tax is a problem that needs to be tackled. As a cross-party committee with a government majority, however, we took the unanimous view that the Government's current proposals for inheritance tax reform will catch too many family farms who will simply not be able to pay the bill. We are asking for the changes to be paused and reworked. Will the Prime Minister listen to the Select Committee and those on his own benches who want to tackle tax evasion and support the farmers who keep producing food for the nation's table?
Well, Mr Speaker, he knows the very limited impact of the inheritance tax, only on farmers at very, very high level. But he will also know the record amount of money we put in at the budget into farming, and of course the measures taken yesterday with the EU deal, which will massively help farmers selling their products into the EU market.
Julian Buckley.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Wrexham, Shropshire